What's up, everyone? Welcome to season 4 of My Boulevard podcast. This season, we're doing something special. I am here with my co-host, Missie. Say what's up to the people, Missie.
Hello. I'm so excited to join you, Dhati. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to talk about the who, what, when, where, how, and why of urban missions.
That's right. This season, we are going to be walking through together, like live, real conversations. We're going to be talking about real questions, really practical wisdom about how to do ministry in urban environments.
Yeah, this is going to be a primer for all of us. So let's join this journey. Let's grow, learn, and push forward urban missions together.
Stay tuned. This season, we're going to talk about how you can do ministry where you live, where you work, and where you worship. So let's go.
Let's go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of This Is My Boulevard podcast. My name is Dhati Lewis.
And I'm Missie Branch.
And we are here with two great missionaries, two great friends, two just advocates. I mean, people that I have grown to love and to know. People, both Ed and Kelly Kane, they are oversee the Acts2 Network. And so we're just excited to have them on. As you know, if you've been following us for a time, we have been going through the stops of an urban missionary. And today we are hitting the 6th stop. And this is all about empowerment and sustainability. And when you talk about empowerment, sustainability, I couldn't have thought of another person on this earth better than these two, Ed and Kelly. And so, hello, welcome to the show, you guys.
Hi, good to be here, Dhati and Missie.
Good to be here.
Yes,
we're so thankful for your friendship.
Yes. Oh, well, we are grateful. Angie and I, we were just down there at their conference, and it was one of those life-shaping moments. I mean, we were there. We left there just kind of going, hey, we're going to go. And we always, with pen and pad ready.
Yes.
In the presence of the kings, you got to know that you're going to take notes. But we left there literally with the Lord transforming our heart. And now we've just come and we've reshaped our city group now to focus in on college students and really just kind of like all of the things. So that's another time, another conversation that we got to get on to talk about that. But yes, so there's some things going on there. But we're here to talk about empowerment. Yeah, we're here to talk about sustainability. And let's kind of start with you. I mean, from the first time, and we've met. I mean, I don't know how long ago, but it was years ago. One of the things that most impressed me about you and Kelly both is that all of your missionaries and all the people that have been raised up in your ministry have come and have been raised up in your ministry. You don't go out and try to find people and then bring them in. These are people who have been raised up, that have been saved, who have been discipled all within your ministry. And that's always one of the most impressive things, because that is not what's going on in modern missionary movements. But the second thing is that, someone like that, you can think it's like, oh, you want to hoard it all, but you guys have been so generous in so many different ways. And one of that ways that you express that generosity is this idea of like looking beyond your life. And you guys have always said, like, all right, how do I pour into the next generation and leave this better than when you found it? And is that just something that you guys naturally talk about that? Is that something that just happened? Like, share a little bit about just that side of your story.
Yeah, I think those two are actually related. The idea that we have all homegrown leaders, and it's not like we ever thought hiring from outside is an option. We're a poor collegiate church, but because we're a collegiate church, they're young and they're ignitable. And I started to have a relationship with the people that we were raising of almost like a fatherly, motherly kind of vision for them. They're young, they're in our homes, they're getting discipled, they're getting married to their friends within our ministry. And so if you're a parent, you don't want your child, I know it's happening a lot, but living in your basement, hey, you should go out and do what we did, which is you guys go to a campus and duplicate, be your own mom and dad of a ministry. And so I think that kind of relational discipleship context enabled us to not just focus on, oh, what can we do to leverage our gifts to fill a room, but, oh, I want these guys to develop. And at a certain point, the next stage is actually to strike out on your own. And I think that was what drove our church planting. It wasn't so much I wanted to reach all of these campuses, but, oh, I want these guys that we're raising to be able to strike out on their own and duplicate what they experienced.
That is, no, go ahead, please go. No, you go, please.
I think, ministry presents highest of joys as well as the lowest of pains. And I think what we've experienced, we wanted to make sure that people under us experience as well. And I think, there's the excitement of pioneering stage of any ministry. But once the house is built, a lot of it is just sustaining. And we wanted everybody to have that kind of pioneering experience that we got to experience. And so I think that's where it started.
I love that. I love the idea of experiencing being a pioneer, because I think when you are a pioneer, you really get to know all the parts of the process in a way that's different than when you just show up almost as a franchisee, right? And you just you get handed a packet. My question for you is, how were you able to discern that a student or someone that you had been discipling was ready to go out and take this on themselves?
I think our ministry is kind of unusual in that kind of the gestation period for someone to get into ministry, it's probably longer than other ministries. And I think because I think we believe in whole life discipleship, and a minister needs to be kind of a 360-degree minister, in that, we need to be able to see their marriage, how they interact with their wife, how they interact with their children. And so I think there was a lot of that kind of life on life. And so I think that's what allowed us to kind of see if somebody's ready to go out and build a ministry on their own.
How long would you say that process is? I mean, and you said that gestation period.
I think it varies. People in collegiate ministries will know this well, that you get so much visibility into what they're capable of and what they're like. And so by the time they're sent to do what they've already been doing. Mm-hmm. So some of that mystery of like, how will they do in this new role? To be sure, it's a big jump because all eyes are on you as a new leader. But in some ways, they've been leading home groups or life groups and things like that. And I think generally, people, well, to be on a church planting team, there's no, that's a little bit lower threshold because you're going with the leader. But the top lead, I think it tended to be around 30. Okay. So they would have been in bivocational ministry, holding down a job and going on campus and evangelizing and discipling, all those years post-college before we'll put a team around them and send them. And I think it's been around 30.
So that means they, if I'm just doing the math, that you get them around 18, 19. Right. That means you've spent like a decade with them.
Yeah.
Before.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. What an investment.
And I mean, I think that's good. That blows all of our church planting strategies and mottos
out the water.
Yes. But I think that's also the reason why you guys have seen so much success, right? Part of it is like, as you are sending teams and you go to different places, you don't just send them alone. You never send people alone. You send them in teams, and you give them that period of being able to, like you said, have a lower threshold. And I know in some of our listeners, I'm sitting here knowing all that you have done. R. Kelly, can one of you just briefly share kind of the story of kind of how you guys are sending out missionaries and what you guys have been doing for these last the last decade or so?
Yeah, and what is your ministry called?
Acts2 Network.
Okay.
Acts2 Network, because we realize we're really more a network of ministries going to mostly college campuses, but we have different parachurch expressions as well, doing youth ministry, direct outreach to high schoolers, sports ministry and things like that. But the way it started as a typical college ministry. So like an evangelism and discipleship oriented college parachurch would have the look and feel that's closest to our main college campus ministry. The one distinction being that we're a church-based collegiate ministry. So like nearly 100% of our Sunday attendees would be from that particular campus. So here we are raising up college students, and they're so exciting and fun, and they transform right before your eyes, and then but because we're a local church, at a certain point, I think in the 1980 late 80s to early 90s, graduates started to intentionally stay on. They didn't say, "I'm done with college. Thank you. That was an amazing experience. I'll go on to my job in LA, New York, whatever it was." And then they started to intentionally stay on and become what we now know as staff or missionaries. And then when that started to happen, wow, the ministry went up to another level. And then that thing I was talking about earlier, hey, you're doing this. You're almost you're now like in your 8th year of doing this. You're married. I see your marriage. I see your family. I see your leadership and fruitfulness. Now, why don't you go and do this somewhere else? And because of that, we are now on. We're now reaching 70 or so college campuses in 34 cities in 18 states. And then we have a mission church in 2 cities in Taiwan.
Yeah. And this is all homegrown people out of your ministry. They don't have like a recruiter going out doing things. And so that's what I'm saying is it's like the concept of, oftentimes talk about disciple making. Like disciple making don't need to be a ministry, but it's the ministry. And this is a beautiful thing when you're able to see. Go ahead.
I was just going to say what it seems like is that you're creating something in the staff or the missionaries that will live beyond you, right? That you're giving them ministry moments and opportunities and skills that will live beyond you. And then you're teaching them how to go do the same thing on those college campuses. What if you were to quantify or to give words to what those things are, what would you say are some of those? This is what I'm specifically trying to give you or teach you or have you know to continue to pass on.
Well, I think for us, rather than like individual qualities, I think what we really emphasize is what kind of member of a community are you going to be? Because we believe in team church planting rather than solo church planting. And so for us, how well are you going to get along with the rest of the team is pretty important. And because we believe that it's the strength that comes from the team that's going to keep us in ministry for the long haul. So I guess what we do a lot is, are you going to be a active member of this community, not being a community killer, not discouraging people all the time, or just, so I think that aspect is pretty important. And of course, we're all going to have ups and downs of life. And I think part of what it means to be a community is to share the burden of life together. And so I think we emphasize being open about what struggles you're going through, what family issues you're having, what parental issues you're having, everything from aging parents to health issues. And so I think we really emphasize being an Acts2 church. And
so when we're trying to be mutually responsible for one another's lives, then everything that feeds into that, whether you have a tough boss or your parents just came down with a really scary cancer diagnosis, all of that is now in my space as well. We're going to work on this together. So our church plant leads are not necessarily chosen because of their preaching prowess or their leadership strategy skills. Man, if they have that, I'm so happy. But primarily, they need to be community builders and not people who are so focused on like getting it done, that the people under them are fraying. And so that quality of community building and what that community feels like, I think that's the thing that takes some length of time to fully sort of embody before they get sent out.
I mean, that flies in the face completely of the idea of we're looking for that guy, and that guy, he's going to plant a church, and that guy is going to rally some people, and that guy is going to, and that guy is going to. And it also flies in the face of the idea that there's this hierarchy of value in the church. And so we're trying to all reach to this particular, I want to one day be a deacon, as opposed to what you said. It's so simple and yet so profound. Are you a good community member? Will you come in and affect this community in an actual way, as opposed to just being an individual who saps it and takes? It's just beautiful.
I told you. I mean, every single time I'm going to be the first officially adopted person in your on your staff, in your mission that you guys take from the outside.
Yeah. I want to be second. I want to be second.
So
yes.
you guys know one of my bucket lists. One of my bucket lists is to be the first, or one of the first adopted outside of
Acts2 staff.
We love
yes.
to have you. We love to have you.
You know, there's some downsides. There's some downsides to this too that we're always trying to mitigate, which is, you know, the heroic guy who wants to prove himself, who's super gifted. They find they find these other things that take some life wisdom to be able to cherish and appreciate. It takes time for that, and sometimes they'll get impatient, and so
yeah, they can find this stifling. I think.
Yeah. So then,
or it's a little bit too slow.
So we're trying to find ways for them to express some of that zeal and some of that independence as well. But we often don't do that well retaining those people early on. So that's a downside.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how do you work through specifically transition? Because obviously, I mean, when we all have had children, right? We've all had children, and that they've grown and they become 16 and 18 years old, and that they start disrupting the home a little bit because they want to understand, like, are my values the same as my family's values? And, you know, they start, and then they usually go off to college and kind of go through all of those things. Like, if you were to play that out into like the role of, as you're sending people into different places, right? Like, how do you transition leadership well, right, in a way that empowers the community rather than disrupt it?
I think one way we hack around this is the furious pace at which we are doing church planting. It's not like a strategy dominated decision. It is a decision that is based on leadership development and sometimes getting restless, zealous guys to go and attempt something, as well as the next stage in their discipleship is really, they need to be doing this. And so if they go there and do well, that's a bonus. But even just going and attempting will grow their heart and things like that. And in terms of the larger transition of leadership, like handing over leadership, when you send out, then there's very little transition because they're starting new. And the issue is supporting them, making sure that they don't burn out, making sure that they have the resources, making sure that they don't feel too siloed and lonely. But then, you know, as you know, Dhati, we've been talking about our own transition. You know, we hit 60 last year, and I was like, wow, that means I'm officially a senior citizen. You know, you get, you know, AARP emails and stuff. So we're thinking, okay, we're sending out, but our network, although we're calling it a network, is a little bit too still kind of centered around us, the founding couple. And so that is a big transition challenge. And, you know, well, church planting is one way that we're going to, like, if you have one big thing you're trying to transition and you mess that up, that's really way more harmful than if you've got a lot of guys in different cities doing things, even though we're very interconnected, if we don't handle this right, well, at least they'll continue, is sort of how I comfort myself. But we want to transition well so that the network continues to like empower and support everybody. So that's a challenge we're working on right now.
And I just would like to follow up on that. Like, have you guys ever went into a city and the ministry didn't make it, and have had to shut down a city or a campus or a movement or a group of people? And how do you do that, especially when it's centered around a whole community? Have you done that? And if so, how did you know what were some of the telltale markers that it needed to be done?
I think we've done that not because ministry is not going well, but maybe the team members weren't getting along, and or maybe they entered a season of life, where they're starting to have kids, and that meant that they needed more support for the couple. So I think we have situations where young couples, maybe cohort of young couples will go into a city, targeting a campus. And it was fine when they were single, but now that they're starting to have kids, they really needed kind of the wisdom and input and support of older people. And so when they feel that need for intergenerational support, then I think we're willing to sometimes shut down ministry so that they have a chance to go back and kind of get the support that they need during that particular season. So we've done that.
So you think about, no, go ahead. I was just saying, when you think about empowerment and sustainability, I'm listening to a student showing up at your campus in your ministry in college, being walked through to the point where they have graduated from college and want to stay and then continue with this ministry. They stay and then have the opportunity to now go and plant a church. So we're talking about, this is long term. We said it's about a decade. And then when they plant the church, they also still have the support during the church planting season and then the changes through their lives. This is empowerment. This is sustainability. This is it embodied. Yes.
Stage, the health of the missionary is at the core. And I love what you said, Kelly,
yes,
about that. It's just like it wasn't necessarily that, you didn't have a success impact.
Nothing was wrong.
The health.
Yes.
It was always the thing that drives. And I think that's something I need to hear oftentimes, because I can be so mission dominant, and just be about that. And that, no, it's just like the health of the missionary is so critical to making these decisions, not just the impact of the ministry that you have.
How do you transition people from being kind of dependent on you guys to being self-sufficient? Like, knowing that the support is there, but not incapable of, because when the people are not those few kind of alpha who just want to run with all the zeal, but who have, it's comfortable with you, that's why we don't want to go. How do you help people transition from that dependency?
I think probably because we're founders, and even the guys that are leading at a high level who are in their 50s, when they're with us, it's sort of like we're back in college, or they're back in college and I'm their leader. And so there is that kind of relational dynamic that still persists, and it's kind of fun and warm, and it's fun to be in that environment. So I think one way that we hacked around it is, of course, church planting, and doing it at a pace and scale that, they have a lot that they need to get done. And so in that sense, we're not able to, even if we wanted to, if we're not able to micromanage and things like that. So then they develop confidence in their domain of authority and things like that. So I think in that sense, there's less dependence. Also, in terms of support, we just can't, shepherd all of these people. And so we developed a ministry internally for just internal care called Barnabas Group. And so our people in their 40s and 50s are proving very, very helpful. They will get on Zoom and do marriage check-ins and marriage coaching with couples who are out there, because it's hard enough being married and loving each other with a additional, job and a child, but they have to ministry. They have to make decisions together. And so we provide that kind of, so we have a whole layer now. And I've been saying, wow, now we're a whole church, because now we're finally intergenerational, where we have people who are empty nesters and people in their mid 50s that are now saying, okay, I want to support these guys out there in the church plan in these ways.
I think another way is I think they relationally experience a lot of strength from us. But I think in terms of strategy, I think if we had to choose between strategy versus staff care support, I think our contribution is staff care and support, not so much strategy, because strategy has to do a lot more. It has to be a lot more on the ground, front lines, like best what works. So I think we emphasize less on those things. And I think what we do are things like, especially with our full timers, we do have weekly marriage check-ins, and then we have quarterly meeting / fellowship. That's what we're doing this week. And then, of course, we have the annual time when we come together, and we spend about 2 weeks, I think maybe 2 to 3 weeks, working on network-wide projects, as well as just eating and hanging out and fellowshipping, so that we can continue to strengthen our relationships.
Yeah. So for the leaders out there who are leading teams and raising up, younger people, man, when you first shift into this role, because I have a certain bent and a certain gift set, and of course, everybody feels the most joyful and fulfilled when they're working in their area of strength all the time. But I needed to be, in some ways, all things to all people, in the sense of looking at what our network needs me to be, and pull back from things that I feel very strong in, such as leading and strategizing and being in the front lines. And I needed to tend to everyone. And that's not necessarily my strongest gifting.
Yes.
I've seen that, if I don't do that, they won't be well. And so tending to their level of joy, tending to things that they're doing that's going to burn them out, the way that they're relating that's not good, that's been more and more the majority, most of what I do.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man, this has been, every time you guys just create new categories, you break paradigms, just in the way you guys are thinking, the way you're looking at sending, and just still caring and shepherding, even as you're sending. I think it's important. And so first of all, let me just say thank you. We're grateful. Thank you for taking your time and spending this time with us. And, especially on this sixth stop of being an urban missionary, when we're talking about the empowerment and sustainability, and you guys have done multiple times over, have established new presence and created a sustainable system, a sustainable community of the Lord's missionaries, and you just continue to do so. So we'll continue to pray for you as you think about the journey in the years to come. Wow. And I pray that the Lord will speak to you. So thank you for blessing us with this time. And
thank you so much.
Again, anytime you guys want to come on, just call me. And
we will make time. Yes.
So, thank you.
Thank you for inviting us.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, this is another episode of My Boulevard Podcast. Peace.